Hello, my name is Mike Ray, and welcome to another 5-minute message here on the top of South Mountain. A little windy today, so if it's affecting the sound, I do apologize for that. I was thinking this morning about the difference between cause and effect. Cause and effect. Just because you do one thing, another thing comes about because of it. If I drop this rock, the effect is it's going to fall straight down. Trouble is, it's going to hit my toe. And that's the effect. God writes about this in the book of Galatians. And it's actually really interesting. For example, the verses we often read are Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. But what we're looking at there, reading, is not the cause, but we are looking at the effect. The cause, we have to go back and look at earlier verses. For example, in verse 16, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Verse 18, but if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. And in verse 25, if we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. You see, the fruit of the Spirit is the evidence of us walking with God. So when it says in verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is, what it's saying is these are all the causes. If we walk by the Spirit, if we are led by the Spirit, then the effect of that is the fruits of the Spirit. They just come automatically. We don't have to think about them. We don't have to contrive them. We don't have to work on them. They just automatically come about because that's who we are inside. We know about this in a negative sense. In the book of Matthew chapter 7, it tells us about false teachers. In verses 15 and 16, it says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. In other words, what is in our heart is what is displayed in our actions. Those are our fruits. So when we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, this is what comes out when we walk with God. It's a natural extension of who we are. But to be able to bear this fruit, we must first be walking with Christ. We must be in Christ Jesus. In the book of John, chapter 15, verse 5, it says, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. You see, if we're not bearing fruit, it may be because we're not walking with God. And we're not walking by the Spirit. We're not being led by the Spirit. So how do we make sure that we are walking with the Spirit, being led by that Spirit? One of the things to do is to pray and stay in constant communication with God. Have Him help us. Quit trying to do things on our own and be led by Him. The other thing is to study God's Word so that we know what His teachings are and how He leads us. That way we can follow His steps. And finally, don't neglect the gathering of Christians together, because in doing so, you're getting that camaraderie, you're getting that support, you are supporting others so that they can all walk in the Spirit. And by doing so, then the fruits of the Spirit will naturally come out. When we are in the vine, we cannot help but display the fruits of the Spirit because they come from our heart. Thank you for watching.
Glorify thy name.